You're listening to the AmWritingFantasy podcast. In today's publishing landscape, you can reach fans all over the world. Query letters are a thing of the past. You don't even need a literary agent. There is nothing standing in the way of making a living from writing. Join two best-selling authors who have self-published more than 20 books between them. Now, on to the show with your hosts, Autumn Burt and Jesper Schmidt.
Hello, I am Jesper.
And I'm Autumn.
This is episode 67 of the AmWritingFantasy podcast. And, Autumn, you brought up this very interesting topic to talk about today, asking whether or not it's worth it to publish through IngramSpark. So I'm looking very much forward to your thoughts on this.
I had to research it. It's a fun logic puzzle that I got so excited about, and then kind of had a reality shock, but we'll get to that in a bit. For now, yeah, we'll get back to that. But so how are things over in Denmark? It's I know we're recording this a few weeks before it gets published, and the world's going a little crazy right now. So I hear you guys have schools canceled, so your kids are home, and it's just crazy, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like coronavirus in everything right now. So as you say, we're recording a bit in advance here, so who knows once this episode goes out if things has calmed down or not. But honestly, I have a feeling that we're on the start of things rather than at the end of things, but let's see. But yeah, indeed, schools are closed, so the kids are home. They're being taught remotely. So the teachers are uploading assignments for them every day, so they do that, and then they call the teachers and stuff like that. So yeah, and I don't have any matches to referee either because everything has been cancelled.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty much lockdown mode, I would say.
It's probably safer for everyone, especially those who are truly high risk. It's best to slow the spread of this thing. But
yeah, absolutely. I was feeling really bad for the beer company who creates the Corona beers, because it's so weird. I mean, people don't want to buy Corona beers. I don't understand.
I don't understand that one either.
What's going on?
Has nothing to do with the beer. I'm not crazy about Corona beer, but it makes me want to go buy one just because it has nothing to do with the beer.
It's so weird. But that was a slightly detour there. But yeah, but I guess what I could say though is because of all this Corona stuff, then I don't have to, bring the kids to school. We don't have to go to soccer practice and all those things. So I've had a bit more time on my hands. So that resulted in a few things actually. We got first of all, the plotting of our next series of the first book done.
Yes, we do.
So that's pretty cool.
That is really cool. We've made some good use of our extra time for sure.
Yeah, indeed. And also, I'm pretty much ready to start recording the self-publishing success course in the next few weeks.
That's fantastic. You're ahead of me. I've got to catch up and get my world building modules recorded and everything else. But yeah, I don't think either of us will have run out of anything to do, whether we're quarantined for a week or a year. I think we could volunteer for a Mars mission and we would still be working by the time we got there and back.
Yeah, the problem with us is that every time we finish something, we think of 3 more things to add to the end of the list. So it's like a never-ending grind.
Yeah, we're always fighting a Hydra and finishing off ahead and getting 3 more in response.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, and by the way as well, I'm halfway through the script for the course on using email lists as well.
Oh my goodness.
So I hope, I'm trying to get that one finished. And then once I'm done with the script for that, then I can send that to you, and then I can start recording the self-publishing success course instead.
That is amazing. You're blazing ahead.
I try to.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I had some drive time and some take care of some business time, so I'm definitely not. And plus, I was building the cabin, so I always feel like I'm so far behind. But the cabin building goes on, quarantine or no, because well, it's the house I'm living in, so I kind of needed.
Of course.
But yeah, we snuck off to Maine to pick up our rooftop tent and a few other odds and ends that we had left behind up here for the winter, and now our Land Cruiser is outfitted that if we wanted to escape to the far north and hide out in the tundra, we'd be all set. But we just plan on going back to Vermont and hopefully riding out the rest of the coronavirus there and hoping that the world doesn't get too crazy. It reminds me daily of when I was researching my post-apocalyptic story, Friends of My Enemies, that series, and it had two major pandemics that led up to the first book. And so I did a lot of pandemic research and a lot of virus research. Mm-hmm. And it's watching this play out is like, holy crap, this is too real. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's well, it's we don't know how to deal with this stuff, right? I mean, I think that's part of it. But hopefully it won't be too bad. I hope. But,
I'm hoping.
But let's see. But wasn't there something? Weren't you supposed to go to some convention or something as well?
Yes. Well, actually, I was supposed to be going this weekend that we just went through. I was supposed to go to a paddler's rendezvous. My husband and I are both canoers and kayakers. We've done a lot of paddling on our journeys and traveling. And actually, he just picked up a 105-year-old canvas and wooden frame canoe. It's a classic. It's gorgeous. It needs to be fixed up. Of course, everything we pick up needs to be fixed up. That's just our life. Everything we own is a project. But it was supposed to have this rendezvous, and that was canceled. And actually, that's why we'd come up to get the rooftop tent. We were going to camp there, but we decided to come up anyway and get our supplies. But yeah, it's Vermont. There's supposed to be a sci-fi and fantasy expo at the end of April, which is really close to when this will be released. And at the moment, it's still scheduled to go, but I don't know. The CDC just recommended, no gatherings larger than 50 people. And there's supposed to be 3,000 to 5,000. It's going to be a very small expo. Yeah, I think they're going to end up having to cancel it. And honestly, at this point, if I could get a refund, I'd probably just cancel it myself. But, here's to hoping the world is much happier and healthier on April 25th. Otherwise... yeah.
That was the one where I sent you some paperback books for, wasn't it?
It was. I think we're going to have to hold on to them until it's rescheduled. There will be another fantasy expo to take them to.
Yeah, I guess so.
A week on the internet with the AmWritingFantasy podcast.
So I actually wanted to highlight a post that you shared on Patreon, Autumn.
Oh, really? Hopefully it's not the same one I was going to talk about.
Oh, I don't know.
I should let you go first.
We are professional podcasters here, so we are very well coordinated and we know what the other one is going to say.
Which we proved, was it 2 episodes ago when I actually mentally figured out the next bullet on your list. So
yeah, I think that was more coincidental than anything else. No, it was the one about foreshadowing.
Oh, no, that isn't the one I was going to mention. So what were you going to say about foreshadowing?
No, it was more like, you went through in detail how to use foreshadowing correctly in that post, and I just thought it was very valuable to share detailed posts like that. We try on for people on the email list. We also try to send them some detailed advice on this and that. Sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's writing, but I really like these posts that you do on the writing stuff on Patreon. I think they're really good.
Thank you. I have so much fun, and sometimes I really have to cut myself off because they get a little long. So I do like to know that they're appreciated by the students and by my writing partner. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they're great. Well, which one were you going to mention then?
Well, I loved Zaid had mentioned it. I'm on this tips. It's a long story about how I have this sheet of 10 plotting tips that I'm going over. And one of the ones that you mentioned was foreshadowing, and the other one that I just did a little while ago was plots of individual characters. And so Zayd and I got into a conversation, and I just love that he came back with, he gave me an update. He said, just wanted to update and say that I've now written a really cool sequence that starts with the character telling the main character he can clean up his own mess and walk away from the quest. It's created some really cool character moments for several of the questers and given an opportunity to really show the extent of the main character's flaws. So, huge thanks for posting this. And it's like, damn, that's awesome. So I'm so happy to know I helped to add to someone else's book and create this like pivotal scene that's going to shred the main character. And I'm just excited, and I'm glad I got to help someone. So it's been a fun sequence of tips to post, even if it came out of a long ago class that was completely useless. I have finally resurrected a point to this class.
Yeah, it's funny sometimes. You find some. I also found some old notes in my cabinet. I think it was yesterday.
Oh yeah,
it was like something I thrown in there, and I never thought I was going to use again. But then it was like, hey, I think I have a use for this now.
Yeah,
so it's quite funny. But hoarding is not a good thing, though. No, I guess. But
after I'm done with these 10 tips, I will burn them. No, compost.
Yeah, so that's I know that every content creator always keeps saying that they rely on the support from places like Patreon, but that's actually because it's true.
That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, a podcast is a free medium, and that's cool. I like it that way. I love listening to podcasts myself, and because they're free, that makes it really, really accessible. Yet at the same time, especially, I guess we know that more than the listeners, because we spent the time creating these episodes every week, and it does take up a lot of time. And that is also cool because we choose to do that, so that's okay, and we like helping people and we enjoy sharing, so that's all good. But I do want to say, for those who already are supporting us on Patreon, huge thank you for that. It really does make a difference. And for those who are not yet supporting us and listening, if you want to support with just as little as $1 a month, then please do understand that it actually is something that we really appreciate. So check that link in the show notes and at least take a look at the rewards that we're offering to support us. It makes us so happy.
It does, and it really does make a difference. I mean, we pay for the hosting, we pay for websites. It goes really far to making this actually stay up and running.
And on to today's topic.
So, publishing with IngramSpark. I tried to pull some notes together as well, Autumn, for this stuff, but I think as well, probably, in full transparency, we're not currently publishing our stuff with IngramSpark. So I think this is more like a conversation about maybe the pros and cons or what to think about. So I guess the listener can more use it as inspiration for, I don't know, their own decision-making process, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. We're on the outside looking in, and that's sort of how the question came up. An author I was working with had helped format their book and do some cover work for them, said they actually got a rejection to have a book signing event at a local bookstore because they weren't published with IngramSpark. And that led to this huge research of why isn't Amazon good enough? What's the big deal about IngramSpark? And I got so excited about IngramSpark. I'm in love with what you can do there. However, I'm still not published on IngramSpark, and we'll get to why before we get to the end of this episode.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we have already discussed at some point in the past that for our joint fiction books that we want to go to IngramSpark. So, but I think it's going to be interesting to just have a conversation about it and Absolutely. What does it mean, and because it's not as also the research I did, it's not as easy as it may seem. But maybe we should start by, what is IngramSpark? That's
just what I was thinking. So some people are not going to even have heard of this because it's not as well known as like Amazon. But IngramSpark, would you say it's not really a distributor, but basically it's sort of like a distributor?
Yeah, it's like an online self-publishing company, basically.
Yeah, it is. It's just different. it is a direct competitor to Amazon, which creates some conflict, of course. But it has a few things about it that are the reason that, bookstores like it better as a distributor than, getting paperbacks through Amazon. And it offers, it does offer very similar things to publishing on Amazon. You can get ebooks, you can get paperback books, but what's really cool is you can get hardback books. So this is the only platform out there right now where as an indie author, you can get a print-on-demand hardback. So if that doesn't make you tingle because you want to see your book hardback, that might be enough to make you want to go and check this out. So yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and they distribute globally, of course. I during my research here earlier today, I saw that their global distribution network is actually one of the largest in the world.
Yes.
It serves more than 29,000 book retailers worldwide, and that includes physical bookstores, as you said, but also libraries. So using IngramSpark is actually what can get your book into physical bookstores and libraries where other self-publishing platforms actually has no access.
Correct.
So that's pretty cool.
It is.
And of course, IngramSpark can also publish to all the regular online places. Like I think even they distribute to Amazon as well.
Yes, they do.
And you can get into all the other regular stores as you might want to. But honestly, I would not go through IngramSpark for that. Personally, at least, I usually go direct to Kobo, direct to Amazon, direct to Google. And then I just use Draft to Digital to reach all the other online stores. That's pretty easy that way. So, but at least IngramSpark to basically help you reach the bookstores and also get that hard copy available on Amazon, because it syncs up on Amazon as well. So if people are browsing for your books on Amazon and they click on the title, once they get into the basically where the book description as well, that's usually where Amazon then shows you the different formats.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an IngramSpark hard copy, it will appear there just like if you have an audiobook appears and a paperback appears. And so it just becomes one of the formats on the Amazon platform. And I think that is the key thing there, because if it didn't, then I would say it's probably pointless. But because it syncs up like that, then that's pretty damn cool.
It is really cool. And I mean, there are some tips. I mean, you could go IngramSparks and not do Amazon and have it pushed to Amazon through Ingram. But they do say that Amazon will, not purposefully, supposedly, but they will see that it's coming from an outside distributor, and they could have a really long ship date. They could list your book as out of stock for your paperback. So they do say that if you're going to do Ingram, you should also, sort of like what you're saying, do Amazon as well. It should be a hybrid system of both, because otherwise the way it's listed in Amazon is not... It doesn't look quite as true, but that's because they say Amazon's like saying, well, they don't know the distribution. Occasionally IngramSparks gets overwhelmed and they have slow shipments and, they say some things like that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's like a, let's say, a conscious decision because it's a competitor that Amazon does like that. Honestly, I think it's just because Amazon cares a lot about the user experience and the customer experience. Mm-hmm. And I think they just take on purpose a pessimistic view on delivery times, because they don't want to disappoint people. Like okay, it says I should be getting in 2 days, and then they order it. And then once basically, so, okay, let me start a bit differently. So let's say you go on and you want to buy the hard copy. So normally the way I researched it at least says that what can happen then is that when you click on the hardback, it will say out of stock, like you just said, Autumn. And that's because it comes from IngramSpark, so Amazon has no idea how long it's going to take. But then, as I researched at least, as soon as you then buy it in hard copy, then you get the confirmation email, and then it syncs up with IngramSpark, and then you're usually getting a pretty good delivery date on it. But it's just the initial, overview that Amazon gives you. They're trying to be pessimistic on purpose to set your expectations well and then overperform, right? So I honestly don't think it's because Amazon wants to make the IngramSpark look bad or something.
I don't think
that's the case.
But it does. It's something authors should know, and that's why a lot of people do. If they're going to go IngramSparks, they also go as a hybrid. But I do, unless you have something else, I want to share like why I got so excited about IngramSparks and why it's useful. The biggest thing, so this question had come in from someone who wanted to do a book signing, and the bookstore said, yes, we would love to. It was someone from the state, the book was doing well, so the local author, they were like, this is great, but you need to put your book on IngramSparks. We don't order from Amazon. And so I had to do some investigative research on why it was an interesting, why this dynamic. And so what I found out is that for an individual buyer paying full price for something on Amazon, the paperbacks are returnable for 30 days. But something like Barnes & Noble's, this was a Barnes & Noble's that was willing to do the signing, they're looking for a wholesale cost that is also returnable. Yeah. And so just like, what we've been discussing, publishing with IngramSpark, but so that's why they want to do it. They can go and get a wholesale cost, order a whole bunch of books, and if they're not sold during your event, they can send them back. So, that sounds on the surface really a good deal, but there's some really interesting side effects of this that you have to be careful of, because it turns out there's all of these return fees that if you don't have your profile set up, you can see this big chunk, like 1 month, you get this big chunk where people, your book, wherever you're going to go do your book signing, buys a whole bunch of your books. And then the next month they're returning them and suddenly your account's going into the negative. That comes back on you and your royalties. And that's something you got to be careful of if you do sign up with IngramSpark, is that you check, the return policy you set up. And depending on what return policy you set up is whether or not bookstores are going to go and wholesale your book.
Yeah, but you decide that yourself, the return policy, don't you? You
do. There's there's standard ones you choose from, and so there's like a choice of 3 or 4, but you do have to make sure it's not something you should just push through. There's actually a very good reason about why you should choose one versus the other, and to really think about the cost, because there's some restocking fees and other fees that can come out. So keep that in mind if you do sign up for it.
I think it's just part of the game when you're dealing with bookstores, that's how they operate. It's something you have to accept in this case, right? But but on the other hand, I think you could also argue that for the average indie author, is it that much of a problem? I mean, if they send back 5 copies, okay, fine. I mean, if you're really an indie author who's selling like for $1 million of books a year, I mean, okay, you can probably handle it anyway, right? But for the rest of us human beings, if we get 5 books returned on a month, I mean, okay, or even 50 or whatever.
Yes.
But then it's also because you have the sales, so you should be able to cover. I mean, unless you run out and spend all the money, all the royalties right away, you can just transfer back some of the royalties, right?
I would hope so. And I would hope if you have another book signing, it'll all come out in the wash, the people ordering them for the next event and the other ones, returning them. And that could work out. And I did truly coach the one author I was working with. I'm like, just check instead of going through the expense. And we'll get to that about what IngramSpark costs. Instead of going through the expense and, getting everything published over there, why don't you see if you can be your own wholesaler? You order them from Amazon, you let them buy them from you, or buy only the ones that people sell and, promise to take back all the ones that they don't sell. Ask, it doesn't hurt. So if you have a local bookstore, there's no reason you couldn't at least approach them saying, hey, look, I know Amazon doesn't do this, but what if I do it for you? Because obviously as an author, you're probably going to go to another event. You're going to want some paperbacks of your own. If you can work out to be your own distributor as you go to some of these events, you might be able to get into a few places that only would let you get in otherwise if you did IngramSpark.
Yeah, there's one thing that I'm curious about, to be honest, and because Since this is a print-on-demand service, which means that they only print the books when they are ordered and then they ship them out. So, but because of the return policy, I'm quite curious what happens then. So, when somebody returns the books, since it's print on demand, they don't really have any stock or something like that.
That's
or do
one
they?
of the choices. Sure. There's one of the choices. The cheapest is basically to have them destroy it. And I think that only costs you a $3 fee.
So it's just wasting the rainforest for nothing.
Yes. There's other ones where you do say, no, you must keep that. And the next time someone wants to buy it, you pull it. But that costs you a lot more money as a return. I think it's like $10 a book versus a $3 for Destroy It Now book. So those are if you're green conscience, this is a tough
I am,
one.
so that's why I don't like it. I take the environmental stuff quite serious.
I do too, and we all should.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's one of the tough ones. And I will say, though, there are some neat things that you can do with their print services. They actually have a personalization that they do with their print on demand. And I think this is so kind of cool. So if you had someone like win a giveaway and you wanted to actually print something in the book, be it a print of your signature or a print of like, oh, thank you so much for your support. If you're doing a truly personalized, maybe to someone who was your mentor, you can actually have that printed in your book for only $1. In just that one copy. Isn't that kind of cool, though?
Yeah, that is cool, to be honest.
So, it's not quite as cool as hand touching it, maybe writing it, but if with this, sending around the world and everything else, it's kind of cool to print it in there, a big personal thank you to someone who's getting a book.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And that it's $1 is that's just cheap. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, because on Amazon, when you're sending a gift to somebody, you can also add like a gift notice, or I don't know if it's a small card or whatever it is that they put with it, or if it's just a page that they print, but it's not in the book.
No.
It's sort of an add-on, or in the package. Just there's like a slippage in there or something with the text you wrote on it. That is pretty neat as well. But for sure, I mean, printing it in the book, that's amazing. There.
Yeah, so like a hardback copy of your book bound with some thank you message to someone.
Jesus, that's amazing.
For $1, it's only costing you an extra $1 on top of the regular printing fee. I just think that I want to do that so badly just to say thank you to someone. But yeah, so that is one of the really cool services they offer. And like you said, IngramSpark is also a whole book publishing thing. So if you wanted to go whole hog IngramSpark, they have editing, formatting, book covers. They truly can do it all for you if you want to pay the fees, of course. But it is all in one-stop shop. So that's kind of, if you're really feeling it out and wanting to do a very professional level, they do offer it all right there in one website. And it's one that's been vetted, tried and true. So you're getting a quality product at the end. So that's kind of a nice thing to know too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also read somewhere that if you're dealing with colored printed books, like for example, my map making book is incredibly expensive to print with Amazon. That's also why the price for the paperback colored book is so high. It's because the printing costs are insane.
Yes.
But I read somewhere that the colored print books are actually cheaper on the cost side if you do it with IngramSpark compared to Amazon.
That I hadn't seen, but I would believe it because I think they're better set up for it where there's less color books being printed through Amazon. And I also have heard the paper quality through IngramSpark is much better. So you're going to get a thicker paper, and that might be why they can handle the color. So I know a lot of people who are doing like coffee table books, like paperback, the books you would see like hardback photo books, they're going through IngramSpark if they're not doing something that is specifically designed for photograph heavy jobs, because it just doesn't work well with Amazon. Because if people remember KDP, like in the coloring book craze that was going on, I remember some people were getting KDP or Create Space coloring books, and they would have something printed on both sides, but you'd go to use your colored pencils or your marker, and it would bleed through to the other side because those pages were just not set up for such a media being used on them.
No, I can see that, but at least for the quality of the color in the KDP paperback books are absolutely fine.
Oh, they
I have
are.
nothing to say about that. They're absolutely fine. But it's just more the cost of the printing is so high that you have to set your sales price pretty high as well. So if it's cheaper with IngramSpark, then I can certainly see some great uses for that as well. If you are having books with a lot of pictures or color images in them, then that's amazing.
Yeah, that would be. I never did double check that, but I do think I could see it being cheaper, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, there is some cost as well that I think we need to touch upon.
Yes, and that's sort of the issue, I guess, because it comes down to setting up your book where, KDP, you go and you upload your ebook and it's free. You can do your paperback. If you know what you're doing, you basically upload it and it's free. What the cost comes out in your royalties. With IngramSparks, there's not only the royalties, but there is also a fee for setup.
Which is a bit weird. I don't quite understand why.
Well, they also say some of the fee is for hosting the file on their servers, which I guess there's a part of me who's like, that is a cost. I mean, server space, think of Google with how big their servers are all over the world.
What about Amazon? It's the same for them. They don't charge for it.
No, don't give them any ideas.
I doubt they're listening to this podcast, but
if they are, don't listen to them. It's, when I first saw the fee, I wasn't that appalled. So it's $49 for ebook and paperback. Or if you just want to do one or the other, it's $49 for paperback and $25 for just the ebook. So you can, $49, that is not a big deal. And when I saw that, I'm like, darn it, that is it. I am doing IngramSparks because I just think I want to be able to distribute my books. Everything I read said there's no reason not to do this. But then I found the catch.
I was just waiting for the kicker.
I found the catch, and the reason I'm still sitting here and haven't touched IngramSparks. To publish with IngramSparks, you need an ISBN. You need to come in holding an ISBN. And you need a unique one for every format. So if you're doing ebook, paperback, and hardback, that's 3 ISBNs. That's a lot of money.
It is, yeah. But I guess you could just publish the ebook and the paperback with Amazon KDP,
right,
and then just do the hardback for IngramSpark and then use one ISBN, couldn't you?
You could, but then, I mean, to me, the beauty of IngramSpark is using it for the paperback distribution, because then bookstores might pick it up. That's the only reason they're going to get it is through IngramSpark. So that's probably a hardback and a paperback. So you'd probably be doing 2.
Right, yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, and I was looking at it, so you can buy 10 ISBNs for $295. So that makes it $29.50 each, which is not that bad. So plus that, plus the $49, it's, if you're doing all 3 formats, it's $137.50 each. Or if you're not going to if you're only going to do 2 of them, it's $110 each. So, $110 a book, plus plus then you get your royalties back, but they're obviously taking a cut there every time something's sold because they have the printing fees and whatever. I don't know what ebook. I still wonder the electron fees with ebooks, but we won't go there. So 110 for, it's not too bad. So if you were going to use all 10 ISBNs, let's just say you're just going to do paperback, so 10 books with 10 ISBNs, that's $785 for 10 books. And that's what's getting me, because me, I'm prolific and I haven't done this yet. So if I were going to get my 14 fiction books and my 2 nonfiction books set up to do this, I would be paying about $1,760 if I was going to do 2 formats.
Yeah.
That
hurts for sure.
It does hurt until I was trying to rationalize, okay, what if I just did paperbacks? And that's like $7.
You want to do the hard copy. That's the whole point,
right?
It
is.
Otherwise, you can just keep doing KDP for paperback at the end of the day.
True. And so, to get it set up for, a trilogy for 2 formats, that's $330. Or I have 6 books written in the same world. That would be $660. And you don't want to do just one at a time. You just want to go and do it. So I'm just still waiting for everyone who's in quarantine to go buy my books so that I can go and afford to do this. But it does add up quite a lot. And that's what I think is the kicker. I was so excited at that $49. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not a lot. But then when you start
thinking, it's not too bad.
ISBNs, I mean, yeah, I've always had a problem with you go back to, I believe it's episode 41, where we talked about ISBNs. And yeah, it was episode 41. So go back there and check that one out, and you can have the whole conversation on ISBNs and if you should be using free ones. And we won't recover it here, but you and I are both like, ISBNs. We use the free ones, and now suddenly it's like, I have to go buy them for this. Oh, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm just.
I mean, of course, you have the problem if you're looking to to publish with IngramSpark when you have a big back catalog. Then you have a problem there, right?
Yes.
But if you do it as you go, one book at a time, then it's manageable for sure. I mean, it's if you buy the 10 ISBNs for $295, I should say, then. Of course, 295 that might hurt for some, but it's not that bad. No. If you know what I mean. It's it's doable.
Yeah, it should be about less than your editing costs. I mean, it's not outrageous. We just covered editing costs a couple episodes ago. So yeah, that is a reasonable price that you're going to spend on your books.
Yeah. So it's certainly doable. I also read somewhere that the actual uploading process is supposed to be a pain. I don't know if that's still the case or if that's like old information that it used to be a pain and is not anymore. But at least there's a few different places on the internet where people are explaining how it's a bit annoying because, you know, when we come from KDP on Amazon, normally it's so incredibly easy.
Oh, it is.
It's ticking a few boxes, uploading a file, uploading a cover, and setting a price, and you're pretty much good to go. You wait like less than 24 hours, and then it's online. It's amazing, but I don't know. At least I've not tried it myself, as we said in the beginning, but at least what I got from the research, it sounds like it's a bit cumbersome to go through the uploading and publishing process with the IngramSpark, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't done it myself, but it is an older website. So it's an older platform where Amazon's constantly renewing and tweaking and correcting their code. I don't think have quite the same level of money going into, you know, updating their area and updating how they do things. So I think it's a little bit older. And I honestly, I didn't research it because, I mean, I use Vellum for all of my formatting, and I don't know if their binding standards, if all of that is the same as KDP. I know I've done a few covers that have been used on IngramSparks, and the requirements are similar, but they're not the same. So I wouldn't be surprised if something in even just the uploading what's required. Obviously, you'd need a PDF. For if you're doing, I think it's an EPUB for the ebook, but you need a PDF for the print version. And so if the binding sizes and the margins are a little different and it's not something I can tweak on Vellum, that's going to be another hurdle for me to get through because I love Vellum and that's how I'm doing it because I can format my ebook and my paperback and everything all at once with just one shot, and that saves so much time.
Yeah, and if there's anybody from IngramSpark listening to this podcast, then you guys, we are paying, as you are the only distributor who takes money from us for the upload. So fix your upload, please, if that is indeed a problem anymore, which I don't know if it is. So, but if it is, fix it. That you're charging us for the upload, so it should be simple and easy.
Hey, I'll even take it one step further. If there's anyone from IngramSparks listening, get in touch with us and we'll do an interview and we can talk about, you know, how this process works. And that would be really actually kind of fun. I'll host it.
That would be fun.
It really would.
But it comes with a warning that I will ask questions about why you haven't fixed it yet. So you better come prepared to answer that question.
All right. But to be fair, we'll have to upload a book and make sure it's as bad as they say. Just, you know, we'll have to go through it.
That is true.
We're just going on hearsay now.
We're just going on a rant like everybody else. Yeah.
That's right. But you have to say what they do, the fact that they do distribute that bookstores, that they offer this return policy, even though they shred books, and please do so in an environmentally friendly, compostable manner. And
I don't know what's worse to the environment, to be honest. If it's shredding the book or having big warehouses, I'm not quite sure what is worse, to be honest.
Honestly, I don't know either. But if they're composting it, it's okay. That's returning it to the earth, and that's fine. But if they're not,
well, what about all the ink and
I
stuff?
don't know. Well, if it's biodegradable, there are good inks. I'm just hoping that we move to. I'm thinking the binding, the chemicals, the printing. Now that I'm thinking about this, I don't want to know how unhealthy it is to print a book. I might have to go back to only ebooks just for.
We should never have started talking about this.
Now I'm wondering what my footprint is in the world, and I'm thinking, oh crap.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
There was one other kink that I came across that I think this might be applicable, but I'm curious what you think. But what if you have an ebook? Let's say you have an ebook of it, you have it published via KDP, and you have it enrolled in Kindle Unlimited.
Oh,
then I think that the hardback copy from IngramSpark would be breaking the exclusivity agreement with Amazon. Wouldn't you think so?
No, I do not. I think the KDP Select is only attributed to the electronic, the ebook, because you're allowed, but when CreateSpace was its own company, you could still do a CreateSpace paperback, but be in KDP Select with your ebook. I think the KDP Select is only ebooks.
Okay.
That was my understanding. If there's anyone from Amazon listening, please let us know. But I'm pretty sure that's
at least it's worth checking.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm a bit. You might be right, but I'm just doubting a bit whether or not this is okay. But maybe I'm wrong. But at least something to think about, I would say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, again, for an author question, somebody who was going to upload and format, we got into a discussion about paperbacks. I'm pretty sure I looked it up, and the paperbacks they're still distributed. Amazon distributes to your extended network, even if you're on KDP Select. And that was fine even when it was CreateSpace. So I'm pretty sure they're separate entities still, that the KDP Select only applies to your ebook. But we can try to look it up and maybe put it in the comments.
Maybe maybe a listener knows actually, so they can reply with a comment and
that'd be fantastic.
And put us straight here.
Yes, someone else who is on top of these things and loves research. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Or if you have a horror story, please let us know.
Yes. So I don't know, maybe at least from my point of view, in conclusion, I think IngramSpark is absolutely great for hard copy books and to get into bookstores and libraries. And what I would also say is that when you get to your book page on Amazon, for example, if you can be available in all the formats, so you have an ebook, you have a paperback, you have a hard copy, and you have an audiobook, if that's possible for you, I mean, of course, I do know all of that comes with costs.
Oh, yes.
But if it's possible, and you have a professional created cover, and of course you have your book fully edited and all that, basically your book will be indistinguishable from something Random House has published or something, right? It looks like 100% professional publishing house has published your book.
Yeah.
And to me, as an indie author, that's what I want, right? I don't want the reader to be able to tell any difference whatsoever.
No, I think that's true. And I think it does give you that high level of professional shine. Though, for some reason, when you were talking about, making it professional and having it look so perfect, reminded me of one other thing that did kind of irritate me with IngramSparks, where, with Amazon, you find out there's a typo or you want to fix something. You need to update some kind of book links because you have more versions. Well, on Amazon, it's free, but for every time you do a new upload of a new version, there's a fee on IngramSpark. So,
oh my God.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, but I don't know. Again, the logic evades me here because, okay, if you're telling me that we're paying for the upload because it takes up some sort of virtual storage space, and okay, fine, let's say that then. But because I update a typo and upload the same file, that's not going to create more. I mean, it's basically, there's no human involvement from IngramSpark. It's not going to take up more space in cyberspace. It's just like, Oh my God.
I don't know the logic there.
No, it's just a fee to have a fee. It's just, I don't like that.
No,
but, okay.
I agree. But if there's still something about a level of professionalism, but maybe that's sort of the key, is that if you're publishing through IngramSparks, you're probably got a good platform. You're making enough money. You don't jump into these waters unless you know you can afford it and tackle it and handle it. And that's why you'd be doing it.
Yeah, so I think that's it. That at least there's a lot of good stuff to think about here for people. For certainly for those who never heard about IngramSpark, now you know what it is. But also for the more experienced people, we've done some research on your behalf here. So at least you can use what we've talked about here to figure out for yourself if IngramSpark is something you want to pursue or not. Of course, if you have a big back catalog, maybe you just want to do it going forward. I don't know, but
I'll have to think about that one. And hey, if you're on IngramSparks and you have any comments about why you love it or think you regret it, put that in the comments too. We'd love to hear.
Right, so next Monday we are going to share how to prepare to write a new book. So that'll be a lot of fun.
If you like what you just heard, there's a few things you can do to support the AmWritingFantasy podcast. Please tell a fellow author about the show and visit us at Apple Podcast and leave a rating and review. You can also join Autumn and Jesper on patreon.com/AmWritingFantasy. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get awesome rewards and keep the AmWritingFantasy podcast going. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.